Hey there, good morning, and welcome back to another episode of the Show and Tell Garden Show. And today we're here with Justin at the channel Herbal Lyf Styl. Well, welcome back. Let me tell you, this place is so cool and so grand in all the things that it's got going on. This tour is going to go a little bit different. We're actually going to let Justin tour guide us through this because there's no way I could remember everything that he's got going on. And we're going to probably show and tell as we go because there's a lot that we can learn from him. So let's go check it out. I'm so excited to see what you've got going on here. So we're right here, like inside of his gate. Don't worry about the trash can, because what he's trying to set here, like the setting that he's trying to create. Tell us about that, Justin.
So what I'm trying to create over here is a beautiful scene as soon as you walk in. Obviously don't mind the trash cans at the moment. So when you walk in, the first thing you'll catch is there's some lavender to try to help with those trash cans, as well as there's a hibiscus plant that will, when it blooms, gives you a nice yellow orange flower, so it should give you some pretty colors to stay away from the trash cans. As we go along, there's some mint. Again, we want to try to get away from those smells as you walk into the yard. And then as you start looking, you can see this beautiful ice cream banana palm growing, beautiful leaves, large. And then right now we have a bunch of chia growing. This is a side garden, so a lot of different things can be growing during the times of the year. Right now we have this chia, which grew a lot larger than we ever expected. I mean, it's taller than me. And we're hoping to see how much chia seeds we get from it. Oh,
chia seeds from the chia plant. So yeah. Does it make a fruit and then, or a flower, and then the seeds come from the flower?
I believe it flowers the same way as like a mint does. Okay. So it gives you that that nice little like
kind of shoot up with a little odd bouquet things, yeah. Like how the, yeah, I get what you're saying.
But, then again, I haven't actually seen one of these flowers, so I'm just kind of guessing based off of the family that's growing.
And what do you have down here?
Some sweet potato. Oh, so we actually eat the leaves more than we eat the sweet potatoes themselves.
Oh, right on.
So we pick the young leaves. They're really tasty.
So do you have them like as a salad?
We'll normally eat it with like a burger rather than eating it with lettuce.
Okay.
Or yeah, you can put it in a salad. I probably wouldn't just use that.
Kind of more of a garnish.
Yeah. Probably get some other leaves in there that are more succulent than those. We have two Asian pears. There's Yali and Suli. I don't know which one is which at the moment. They are labeled. So.
What is this right here on the ground?
It's a squash, crookneck squash.
Now, did that find its way there, or did you put that there?
That was a little transplant. One of the ones that were pretty much going to die, a little orphan that I saved. Put it in there and it's starting to grow just now. We have a few more lying around in these garden beds. I actually made a video on this garden where I took a bunch of orphan plants that would have normally been thrown away. Right. And I planted them in these gardens to save their lives. And a lot of them, I mean, they're producing pretty substantial.
Is that the loofah coming up the side there, or yeah. What's climbing? Okay.
So here's a young loofah right here. You can actually, and there's a bunch of ants on it, but you can actually eat these when they're young. Right. And then when you let them grow large, you can harvest them to get a loofah out of it. And then you just, That's some marigold. A marigold. Marigold, and then here's some snapdragons, which now have these beautiful little seed pods in them. So if you just crack this thing open.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of seeds in them, right? I saw somebody do that the other day.
Yeah.
I need one of those pods. Yeah. Just stick it in my pocket.
And you'll have more than that. Yeah, but those are yellow snapdragons.
And then you've just got a mix of squashes, and I see some tomatoes over there. You've just got and you can, like he said, there's a video that you can catch on his channel from about 2 months ago when he put in all of these different plants. And I'm gonna come around this way.
Yeah, we have a little updated video as well that shows you a little bit after it started growing in.
But there's all kinds of tomatoes in there filling in.
Look,
there's a big one. I believe
it's like a Brandywine, or maybe like a Cherokee Purple. It's a mystery, so yeah. We don't know yet. But,
very good.
This was also one of those throwaway plants, and it was basically broken in half. Now look at it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
We have this beautiful nectarine tree. This one still hasn't produced for us. It started giving us blossoms. Right. So we're hoping to see some fruit. Hold up. No way. There was a hidden fruit in here.
There is! That is super cool.
Oh wow, and you know, it probably needs a little bit more time.
Yeah.
That's actually really cool. I just noticed that.
That's awesome.
That made me happy. And then we have our lime tree. You know, it's full of limes already for the season. This kumquat just started actually producing heavy flowers.
Okay.
Which is a good sign, because last year we had like one kumquat growing. And it never even ripened. I just threw it off. So during the winter time, we had a really crazy winter.
Right.
So a lot of our subtropical plants had a real kickback. They got damaged pretty bad. One that didn't, however, is a Cherry Rio Grande. It actually did really well with the cold. It still needs to be away from the sun during the summertime, but as you can see, it's just still kind of just growing. It's a slow grower,
right?
For at least here in Arizona, you know, with our climate not being the same as where it's from.
Right.
And this is Chico Sapote. Pretty much died all the way back, and then started growing again. This fruit actually tastes like brown sugar and pears. It's a really enjoyable fruit.
And it's a different sapote than the Mame sapote that you've opened?
The Mame sapote, yeah.
Mame.
Mame will taste more like, which is right here, will taste more like a pumpkin pie, caramely kind of taste, with like a consistency of a baked, or not a baked, but like a boiled sweet potato. Okay. So, you know, kind of creamy, but still has some bite to it. This avocado tree is a Mexicola avocado, and right now it's getting a lot of salt damage, which came pretty quickly. So we laid down a bunch of gypsum around it, and then watered it in heavily. Right. And hopefully we'll start seeing it bouncing back. This was just a recent discovery going on in over here, so hopefully that'll get fixed. But on the bright side, we have a bacon avocado. Right. That's doing really well here. This right here is actually a blackberry. The cuttings were from Sedona. Okay. I did have 2 more blackberry cuttings, but they recently got fried up from that summer heat. Right. What's this tree thing behind you? So this is actually a Christmas tree. Okay. And then right behind me is a white dragon fruit and a red dragon fruit. Okay. And both of these are self-pollinating, but I put them together on one tree to let them grow together. Right on. Eventually, once they get tall enough, I'll put like some type of frame structure around here, so that they go through it and they start hanging down, and then they'll make like basically a tree. But then when each arm hangs down, that's when it starts putting out the flowers and the fruit. Right on. So they won't produce fruit just going straight up like this. They want to have that feeling like they're hanging down. Okay, that's good to know. So there's other ways to do that. You can even just put them in a pot, grow them, and put them up somewhere high. And let it like kind of drape over. Yeah, and it'll trick it. Is there something, what's in that container back there behind the avocado? Oh, yeah, this is a miracle berry. This one was going through so much stress, and it just constantly does go through stress. It needs a really acidic soil. So recently I put in a bunch of coffee grounds in here to hopefully drop that pH. With that though, it's, you know, been growing for about a year now, and it's just constantly been fighting the climate and the pH and probably a whole lot of other things. This is a real finicky berry. Right on. Is it really for this climate, or is it more indicative to something outside of here? It's more in the zone 10A, 10B region. Right on. So it really needs a little bit more heat. Yeah, it's more on the, well, more humidity, more moisture. The heat is fine, but it needs like not as strong, intense heat like we get. Like, you know, we get that 120, 110 dry heat, where they want that moist, humid heat. Okay, so just for reference, we were just over here and we were just talking about a plant over here. So we've just made a short journey around this playhouse to a Manila mango. Okay, so tell me about this guy. Yeah, so this Manila mango took a hit during the winter time, just like the other 2 tropicals and a few other mangoes that no longer exist. But this one took a hit, and since Manila is such a strong plant, it actually grew back, and the new leaves are nice and healthy. I hope this one will at least get to about here by the end of summer, you know, a nice foot or 2 of growth. And after we're done harvesting all these olives, next year we'll cut this olive tree back. And then will it just bounce back? These are all the awesome olives, so they just lay a tarp down here and kind of shake them and pluck them off, and they
then they pickle them. How cool is that? Just everything is getting used here. And then we've got
more throwaway tomatoes that got saved as refugees.
There's even some that have dropped down there. Yeah. Or is that tomatoes or something else?
That's tomatoes, yeah. It looks like they got knocked off. We have a bunch of puppies running around.
Yeah.
So we have Rottweiler puppies right now if anybody needs some Rottweilers.
Just an FYI here in Glendale, Arizona, if you need a little Rottie.
Right. We have loquats. We have 2 at the moment. We have the Big Jim and we have the Golden Nugget. The Golden Nugget was from Seamus O'Leary Tropical Fruit Cheese. Bought it about 2 years ago. Starting to get some kind of damage going on in it. I'm not sure. However, the Big Jim is still doing fine. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on over here, but as we can see, you know, they're both growing. Hopefully that one will bounce back. We have a red banana, a tiny yellow banana. So this one will make actually a physically red banana, you know, the color on the outside of the skin. This will make a banana about that big, yellow. No name variety on this one because I got it from somebody that got it so long ago they can't even remember the name.
Right on.
Then there's a Lacatan in the back, which is another banana this is a more typical banana that you see. Nice, you know, 7 to 8 inch banana.
Right.
Yellow skin. So right here we have a soursop, also known as guanabana. This is a cancer-fighting medicinal fruit right here. The fruit itself can be upwards of $25 a pound.
Oh wow.
When it's fresh. And it's a really, you know, for the most part it's been a pretty easy plant for me to grow.
Right.
But I've been taking a lot of care of it, a lot of care for it. You know, I've been making sure that I water it frequently, keep mulch over the soil. We like to feed our plants with compost tea. One of my favorite books that taught me a good standpoint on making tea is Teaming with Microbes. It's a really descriptive book, and it has like certain ingredients that explain what they will actually do in your tea for you. So it gives you a good base on what to follow when you are trying to make a compost tea.
And then what do we got going down here? You got a little, this is what I call his little orphanage.
Yeah, so a lot of these are actually like seedlings or cuttings or saved plants. So like right here we have a blueberry grape vine. This is actually from one of my blueberry vines. It's just a cutting that I got growing. This is purple Guatemalan dragon fruit. Mm-hmm. I had the plant growing and it started dying, so I cut it back, took one of the cuttings and rerooted it. And then we have some mamey seedlings, 2 different bananas, Cavendish and Green Dwarf, which are basically the same banana. Cavendish is your typical grocery store banana.
Okay.
And then the Green Dwarf is literally the same banana.
Dustin used to work at a local nursery, so it's good to know that a lot of things that he has here were kind of like end of season things that were going to get tossed in the bin anyway. And he's kind of like me, likes to play mad scientist and see what he can keep going. So if you look at all this and you're like, all that looks like it's on the edge, it's because it is, but he's got intentions to stay with it and try to provide life for it, so that in turn it provides life for him. Tell me about this mass right here. What? Oh, there you go, you found one, huh?
Yeah, there's actually a couple right here. So right here we have a large passion fruit vine. We are producing, I would hope to say, over 100 passion fruit this year.
And when he means large, he means it's this mass going all the way around here. They used to have a raised bed in here, and it's kind of gotten overtaken by the grass. But he's gonna pull, like, there's a lot of random tomatoes and things in there. So the annual stuff's gonna get pulled out, and then he's gonna do like a super solarization with some chips and compost and plastic. And then do you think you'll put vegetables back here, or?
Yeah, it'll most likely be a perennial garden actually.
Okay.
So we'll put more of our like bee balm and lemon balm and different types of medicinal herbs, and also different types of perennial fruits and vegetables that we can be eating versus the annual crops. So you've noticed the annual crops are actually doing way better being outside of a contained area, being more in the nature in the permaculture yard,
right,
versus being here. So we're going to turn this into a perennial garden to to hopefully maintain that permaculture style,
right,
and have it work for itself. Well, we start planting all the annuals and making basically gardens in the ground.
And that's an example of that is like where, I mean, even though we say these were just kind of throwaway plants or whatever, but this is what he means by a permaculture garden. Like a lot of us, and if you dig down in some of this, I've watched his videos, he drops all this on the rock that was here. So even if you've got a yard full of rock, know that you can create a fully living permaculture environment. And so that's what he means by putting these plants out here to thrive and just do their own thing in a permaculture environment. And so, and tell me again, how often are you dropping chips back here?
Currently right now I like to go about twice a year.
Okay.
For this yard, it's a pretty small yard, so we like to go about twice a year. If we're getting full load, so that'd be 20 cubic yards being a full load.
Okay.
If they're less than that, then we'll definitely we'll try to get another drop,
okay,
at least, you know, so we get 3, maybe 4 if we have to. But for the most part, if it's 2 large loads, we seem to be a-okay.
Right on.
You know?
And so I just want you to see too, like that's the other wall of his fence, and over here, you know, we're just about that far from the fence. We're probably 5 foot out from the fence in here. So this, if you picture, it's like where my pool is. This is a pool, and he has just made incredible use. So let's see what else you got.
So this is that blueberry grapevine. It's trellising up a bottle brush tree.
Oh, wow.
Eventually I want to build a little gazebo right here, so we can actually trellis up there. Let the passion vine take over and trellis up it. Even one day, hopefully we can even get a cow panel that goes across this garden.
Yeah, that would be really, really cool.
And just let them really take over, because it wants more room to grow. I mean, look at all this fruit. I mean, there's just fruit that I see everywhere. There's this guy. More over here, you know, saw some even, oh, those are tomatoes.
So do you guys eat it all the time, or are you preserving it?
Yeah, so we'll actually eat it. Eventually, hopefully one day we'll have enough fruit that we can provide for other people as well, you know, sell at the farmer's market.
But otherwise you guys keep up with what the plant does. Okay,
exactly.
Very cool. And then tell me about, you've got another little orphanage going on
Actually,
here.
these are not orphanage. This is a seedling project that we got going on.
Okay.
So we have different types of annonas growing. We have like soursop and sugar apple and rollinia and cherimoya all growing over here in seedlings. Each one is labeled. We have different kinds of papaya, like this is my Mexican papaya. We have strawberry papaya, some other strawberries. I believe that's another strawberry or a Mexican actually. We have this is a cutting from an ashberry hibiscus that was dying in my yard from the cold.
Okay.
I took 2 cuttings from it a while before it started dying, and here they are.
Right on. So are all these gonna make fruits, or are they gonna?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's all different kinds of annonas in the world. The one that's known to North America is like pawpaw.
Okay.
But there's like cherimoya, atamoya, sugar apple, custard apple, soursop, rollinia. There's probably even more that, you know, I just can't even think of.
So are these plants that you came to be aware of as you grew into your permaculture life, or is this stuff that you always ate?
No, so yeah, I didn't actually eat a lot of this stuff, you know, growing up. Being here in Arizona, you know, we don't get to see too much. Right. But I started looking into it more, and I started finding other, you know, places where I can buy these fruit and try them myself. So like I know a great place to get like soursop and jackfruit and breadfruit and lychee and longan and rambutan and, you know, all those beautiful fruit.
And this is
an apple.
That's awesome. So when do you know if they're ready?
The way basically I know if they're ready is I just kind of feel if they snap right off, then they're ready. You know, if they're ready to just fall right off the tree, then that's how they're ready. If they have like tug to them and they don't want to break off their branch, then I just let them hang and let them keep growing.
And then what do we got going on all over here?
So this is a feijoa, also known as a pineapple guava. We have Barbados cherry. I've only had 1 fruit on this so far.
Really? How old is it?
It's probably about 1.5 years now.
And what's all this right here?
This is Maru persimmon, so it has 1 persimmon on it this year.
Right on.
Right underneath it is Okinawa spinach.
Okay.
The Okinawa spinach, the cool part about it is it does this purple leaf effect.
Yeah.
On the back. These are very nutrient dense leaves, very, you know, succulent like.
A bunch of strawberries over here.
Yeah, we just actually harvest a bunch of these. These are more of your rare strawberries, your more wild type strawberries. Like we have different kinds of alpines that stay pretty small. We have yellow wonder, and we have white strawberries as well in there.
And what's this thing right here?
Papaya.
Okay, very good.
Cool part about papaya, so this died back in the winter and I had to cut it. But if you look inside here, there's a gaping hole.
Check that out.
So papaya has a hollow trunk. So the whole...
For all the time?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So they are hollow on the inside. Right here we have a tangelo tree with blood orange grafts on it that I did.
That's very cool.
So right here is the blood orange graft. There's another one down here. And another one right over here.
Okay.
So this one. Yeah. The rest is tangelo, and I'm just using the tangelo branches to shade this tree.
Right on.
For the summer. Real quick.
Okay.
We have some longan and star fruit.
Okay,
right
and what
here.
is this, a lemon or a lime?
Lemon.
Okay.
Lots of lemons this year.
Oh yeah, it's coming off of this mamma jamma.
And then there's a little moringa tree. So this is kind of our idea of what we're going to start doing as far as our permaculture gardens in the ground.
It's kind of making these little trenches.
Yep, basically we dug a trench, dug out about 6 inches of the dirt, started putting in all these little starters that would have been thrown away normally.
Right.
And then we backfilled it in with some mulch, and filled it in with the soil and then some mulch. This has no compost added to it. We're just strictly working off of microbial life to hopefully take care of these plants for us.
Okay, what's this?
So this is wormwood.
Shut the front door!
Yeah, so this is an anti-parasitic plant. If you know about candida, this is what will actually help remove candida from your body. You make like teas and tinctures from this plant.
I use this in a salve that I make. So coming around this way, are these just kind of
flowers, recovery, like, you know, those were throwaways. That would have not naturally been thrown away. We saved them.
And what do we have going on in this bed here? He said this was his original bed.
The mint is probably the oldest thing in this garden.
Okay.
That was one of the first things I got planted here. Obviously you see it takes over. And since then we've actually transplanted this mint in a few other spots in the garden.
And so what is all this stuff right here?
Again, throwaway tomato plants.
Pepper.
This serrano is actually one that I grew from seed.
All right.
And now it's been growing for 3 years.
Okay.
This avocado is a seedling as well. We're planning on keeping it there, letting it grow to be a marvelous tree one day, hopefully.
And you've got some kale and just some more different tomatoes.
Some eggplants hidden in between. Garlic chives. This is society garlic. So it's super strong and intense flavor, but you know, very anti-inflammatory, good for your body, good for your soul.
Right.
We have star fruit. This is let's see what it's called. Flang tongue.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is another carambola, makes that star fruit, that yellow, kind of looks like a football with edging going through it.
Right on.
We have a Marzano banana right here. We have Doug Jones blackberry. So Doug Jones from Arizona has a blackberry plant that's been growing in Mesa. And that's it right there. Got a cutting of it at one of the sales. Here is jabuticaba,
okay,
also known as the Brazilian grape tree.
Okay.
This makes a grape-like fruit that will happen on the trunk of the tree, kind of make it look like a mutated tree. Sugarcane. Alright, so all these plants right here, we have about 90% rescue, and then 10% is seeds and transplants that we've planted ourselves. So we have different tomatoes like yellow pear. There's some 2 kinds of cherries like wild cherry and sweet 100. We have champion tomatoes growing in here. Probably even some better boys for all I know. There's Swiss chard.
We're over here on the patio now with Justin, and we went through his little backyard jungle that is a permaculture jungle totally, and it's definitely different than what we've seen, but I don't think it's out of reach, because you said that your backyard has kind of evolved over the last 3 years, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. It's started from the beginning as a backyard with just, you know, a simple rock landscape, patch of grass in the middle, with like a, you know, like an orange tree and an olive tree. I actually like started growing vegetables pretty much the same way anybody else does. I went to Home Depot, got a few starter plants, and planted them in our original garden bed that we have on the side of the house. And you know, the harvests were pretty small, but I'd always be happy to see like a tomato, you know, about the size of a quarter, and you know, things like that, like getting some serranos or some chilies, or you know, little things, or you know, getting all this mint and being able to give it to my family.
Right.
You know, that was always fun. And then my health, I started thinking about my health a little bit more, and I started discovering, you know, being on a plant-based diet is a lot more beneficial. You know, growing your greens and growing your food yourself is also a lot more beneficial, a lot more nutrients. For what we do not grow, we go to our local farmers market,
right,
and we go to a specific farm called TJ's Farm,
okay,
where they actually grow all their own produce from here in Arizona in Queen Creek.
okay.
So you know it's local, you know it's fresh.
Right.
So I prefer going through them to get the supplemented produce that we don't get in our garden. That being said, yeah, it became like a health thing. I started watching these Jake Mace videos and Seamus O'Leary's videos, and I was inspired by them. And
the kind of the permaculture concept and the food forest,
yeah,
is that what you were finding inspiring there?
Absolutely. You know, I would see, you know, I saw that all the trees were coming from Seamus O'Leary, and I noticed that, you know, Jake Mace was growing them very successfully in his yard.
Right.
And so it was really nice to get that inspiration, and then I went on my own and started really growing these plants, and I started reading some books. Again, Teaming with Microbes was that book.
The book that you mentioned earlier in
Yeah.
the video.
Yeah.
And who's the author of that?
I believe his name is Jeffrey Lewis.
Okay, so Jeffrey Lewis, and the book is Teaming with Microbes. That was, you said, a very influential book for you. It just changed the entire dynamic of gardening for you.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, originally when I'd watch those videos, you know, there was a lot of talk about like seaweed extract and fish emulsion and azomite and all these different types of amendments and things to add. One being mycorrhizal fungi, which is probably one of the most beneficial things you can put into your root system when you are planting a plant.
So it kind of changed up the way that you looked at building up the environment.
Right.
I know a lot of the people that watch my channel are, I think a lot of them are people who are kind of a little bit brand new to gardening.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't think that these words like permaculture, I don't think they're outside of their box. I think that we're all kind of moving towards making everything in our gardens work for each other. But can you tell us, like, but it's like at the same time, this is like a lot to kind of take on as a new gardener. So
Right.
what could you tell us about, what are some simple steps that are just a real neophyte, first year, maybe first or second garden, what can they do to begin to bring some permaculture practices in? Why don't you tell us first, like, what they could do in a raised bed, and then what they could do, you know, like here when they're just using like on top of their native soil.
Right. So the main steps to having a successful garden, as far as permaculture wise and not commercial grown, is mulch, compost, and compost tea. If you can provide those three ingredients to your plants, you can see a significant change in your plants. So in your raised garden beds, you want to make sure you apply a lot of fresh compost at the top of the soil.
How often?
You know, you can. That is something you want to look at through your plants necessarily. If you start noticing some yellowing, things like that, you could probably throw some more compost, even some finer mulch, some composted mulch, lay that down. Maybe you need to retain some moisture in there and water less.
Okay.
You know, there can be all sorts of factors of why your plants are not uptaking their nutrients to that point.
Because I mean, I try to make it, you know, like if I have a real division between a season, you know, I always do like you said, I go back and, you know, kind of put a good layer of, you know, newer, fresher, either castings or compost. And then, you know, I try to keep a practice during the summer of doing like kind of side dressing with either, you know, castings or compost. So do you think that that month is good, or do you think it's better for me to, like you said, be paying attention to the plant?
So definitely pay attention to the plant.
And I see that, like, and we've got one bed in our yard right now that we really look at being prolific for us. And I think that's because I say that's the oldest in terms of the soil that hasn't been messed with, that is, you know, that I think that's got the best environment going on in that bed right now. So we touched on raised beds then. Now say if a person like you, like they had mostly rock back here, and now did you pull back rock and drop, or tell us about that?
The right way,
right?
It would be clear out the rock, get it all out of your yard if you can, you know, and then as well as check to see if you have any weed blocking tarp underneath your ground, that black plastic or the black cloth that's underneath your ground. Make sure if you have that, you clear it all away.
Because it's not breaking down in any way, that liner there. Yeah. So yeah, so you kind of have to battle that.
Then begin laying in that mulch. You can, I mean, if you have compost to fill your yard, do it. If you don't, and you don't want to spend that extra money, don't. Just lay down mulch. It does take about 6 months to really start breaking down whatever you just put down, and then it becomes a process and a cycle. So normally we like to keep around, you know, 6 inches to a foot of mulch, even higher to even 2 feet of mulch. We try to keep it consistent in a pretty thick matter, and that way that it constantly is breaking down, and then we're building a good strong microbial life underneath the ground, and it's just going to feed the plants. So you're not really going to have to worry about adding in those liquid fertilizers and extra amendments and nutrients. It's already in your soil. The microbial life is working to break it down, and they're attached to your plant, and they're literally just feeding it through the roots. However, you can always make compost tea, and you can foliar feed your plants. Around this time of year, you want to do it at night.
Right. Because it'll burn the leaves.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool, and I'm totally fascinated. I mean, I still feel like this is a very advanced yard for even me, but I look at it and I see that my permaculture food forest dreams are this, you know. I want to have a space where the environment is always working together and for itself. Chopping and dropping, using that also as a way to, you know, keep things going and growing. I am just so grateful that we got to experience something a little bit different, well, way different than what goes on in my backyard, but I think it's a beautiful thing to look forward to, and especially if you've got land or if you want to rehab your rock garden in your backyard, I think that it would really benefit you to look into permaculture. And we want to thank Justin so much for having us over, and when you get a chance, check out his channel. It's Herbal Lyf Styl. It's kind of got an odd spelling, so I'll definitely put a link down in the body of this description for you. And again, we want to thank you so much for checking in whenever you get a chance, and I hope you have the best day ever.